Hey, folks, welcome to the Generational Gap. I am Robert, your resident Gen Xer, and right over there, that guy, that is John, your resident millennial. John, you're looking a little low tonight. Are you sitting lower than usual? Did you not pump up your office chair this evening? Do you need
No, I didn't. No, it's the camera.
give it a little bump? There you go. Now that's better. There you go. Now you're screwed. Now you're just your pair of glasses and a hat. There's there. Hey,
Yeah.
there's John
Yeah.
in all his metallic glory.
Metallica.
I know what it said, John. I chose my words specifically. Thank you. How are you doing this evening, John?
Your words suck, and I'm doing all right. Glad you asked.
I see Wyatt over there, and I see Jay Edgar over there.
I do. I
Sorry
see
for
them
running
as
a little
well.
bit late. Had a granddaughter to put down to bed, and sometimes they just want to fight that shit. They want to fight the power, but then you got to bring the big authoritarian boot down right on the back of their
Yes.
neck, pin them down, staple their eyes shut, and then they go to sleep. But it works.
Does indeed.
How do you know?
Does.
You don't even have kids, John. You don't know.
How dare you?
So,
I might low again.
do what?
The camera. No,
What's with your camera, John?
it's way too much. This now.
It's so cute.
There we go. That's better.
John, the technically inept. You wouldn't expect it from
So,
your generation.
yeah.
And
Those.
Ed is making sure we understand that he is second behind Henry, of course.
Right. Naturally. Of
Of course,
course.
everyone, Henry's first. I mean, get with it. So, John, little things going on here and there. Some interesting. There's one interesting thing going on, which is,
Yeah. We had
kind of what
a filler episode on America today.
a filler episode on America Today. What are you talking about?
Well, you know how like America is basically the one long running TV show.
Gotcha.
Yeah, so today's was the filler episode. It was kind of funny, but ultimately inconsequential to
Actually,
the
I
actual
don't.
storyline.
Actually, I don't know. It depends. What are you talking about? Are you talking about GameStop?
Yeah.
I don't know. That's why I want to discuss it a little bit. I want to talk about it a little bit tonight because I think that there are some greater implications, going on with with something like that. Um, but there's other stuff. I mean, it's not all stocks and games, right? Right. Iran, Israel.
Hmm.
So they basically, I don't know if you heard this or not, but they basically said if we go back into the Iranian nuclear deal that Trump took us out of,
Right.
if we go back into it, Israel's like, fuck it, we're going to take things into our own hands like we have twice in the past, and we will end their nuclear capability ourselves. Basically alluding to the fact that they will take a strike out on Iran if we go back into
Nice.
the deal with them. And it's not. I think it's more about propping them up. Like they want us to. They. I think they would prefer that we are the ones doing the strike. But I don't.
Right.
I
Obviously.
I don't want to get into that. If you know, I mean, it's bad enough that we have to, we're talking about a nuclear treaty with them that requires that they follow certain guidelines, standards, regulations, and all of this, which since we pulled out of it, they have, they've ignored it. They're like, okay, fine, we're just going to start enriching uranium, and we're going to go ahead and pursue our path. But
Right.
if we go back into it now, that's to say, do they even want to get back into it with us, right? Because that's going to require that they step back from what they've been doing.
Sure. Yeah.
But Israel is all about. From what the gist of it is that they would prefer that instead of us going back into a deal with them, that we strike at Iran, that we end their nuclear capability because they've been going
Yeah.
outside of the, they don't want us to end sanctions, release or relieve sanctions. I'm like, okay, so, what do we do? What's our move there, John? What do we
Uh,
do? Do we
You're
want to
asking
be?
me?
Well, yeah. I mean, do we want to be back in the? Do we
Yeah.
want to be back in that treaty with Iran? Do we want to be back in a nuclear deal with them just to try and keep them, hopefully, keep them from continuing on with the nuclear program to
No,
the
I
level
mean
that they are?
they're gonna do whatever they want.
Okay, so is it better that we don't go into it?
I would say
But
so. Yeah.
if Israel strikes at Iran, there's the problem of us getting pulled into that conflict.
Yeah. See, or we could just pat them on the head and say good luck.
Are we willing to do that with
Like
Israel?
I would be. I mean, I
How?
have no, I don't have any kind of like attachment to Israel whatsoever. So I mean,
Yeah,
they're a
but
sovereign nation as far as I'm aware.
your
So they can do what they
attachment is
want.
irrelevant in the greater scheme of global
Well, I'm just
diplomacy
saying, if
and
it were my
politics.
choice, though, I'm saying if it
Right.
was my choice, I'd be like, well, like what? Why? I mean, it's
Um,
almost like they're supposed to be like that little brother that your mom makes you take along with you when you go out, with your friends, and they're like, he cries. It's like, take me with you.
right.
And your mom's like, just take him with you.
I'm kind of.
Thanks, bye, come on.
I'm
And they're
kind.
mean, no way.
Right. I'm kind of curious to know. I don't know, Wyatt. I'll ask the chat because I don't know if you know how pro-Israel Biden is and what
uh,
we can expect from this administration in regards to whether or not we've got to pal along with Israel in this situation. Um, because I'm not 100% sure where his stance on that is. Because, of course, Israel wasn't a big talking point during the campaigning.
right. Yeah, I don't know where he stands on Israel, but it's also irrelevant where he stands. It's not like he's actually running the country, right? I mean, he's just signing the papers that they put in front of him.
Well, if it's I mean, when it's all said and done, it's situation like that puts him in the commander in chief position. So that's
Oh
we
yeah,
have to take it seriously. You know.
but no, I mean, again, yeah, he's in that position, but he's not the one making the choice. He's
Well,
just the one that has to verbalize the choice.
now
He's
we're
not the one actually making the decisions.
well, he's got to okay the decision. So I mean, we
Right.
can. I mean, we can try and go on the fact that he's just being puppeted along. But
Right.
I don't know that I can necessarily agree with that till I see some more proof in the pudding, right? I mean, I get it, that all bets are off as to whether or not he lives through the first, just because of his age, his condition, if he's capable of maintaining the presidency. I
Right.
get that. But I don't know, I mean, he's shown a little bit of moxie here and there in spirit, like, whenever he's
Yeah, when they
announcing
pump him
doom.
full of when they pump him full of like stimulants, yeah,
Oh, you're such
he's
a big
fine for
joker.
he's fine for an hour or so.
You
you know,
you're such a big joker, John.
I don't know. I mean, yes, of course, for legal reasons. I am joking.
I don't understand why you make these comments about our supreme overlord. Um,
Yes, hail Biden,
um, I don't get it.
glorious leader, Chairman Biden. Yes.
But so but we this situation with Iran, that I mean, we have to I think we have to seriously consider, you know from a global diplomacy standpoint, global politics, where this administration is going to go. Because right now, I mean, he's already, back into the Paris Accord,
Right.
wanting to get back in bed with Iran on the nuclear treaty. Um, Not 100% sure how he's going to handle China, but
By
North
getting on his knees, I imagine.
but North Korea really is one that I'm like, okay, so it only worries me.
What are they gonna
I'm
do?
only curious about it because it absolutely has not been talked about, right? Nothing has been said about North Korea by his
Mhm.
administration, right? Like nothing in the media,
Right.
nothing at all. And I would think that that has got to be addressed because,
Yeah, that would be nice. I mean, even if it was just like some sweet, some like sweet little lies.
Because
That'd be
Kim's
nice at
over
least.
there, he's over there proclaiming he's got
Yeah,
improved
he's testing the
missiles
new president.
testing. He's doing,
No,
well,
I'm saying
I
he's
mean, he's
testing the
doing
president.
things,
He's sniffing for weakness,
right? But I
and
mean, he hasn't really like. I mean, he said something a little bit before the first of the year, but since the administration started, it's only been a few days or anything. But we
right.
we haven't heard anything yet. So it's like, Putin, of course, is all doom and gloom. Is like we're going to go into, this is all going to be one big war, right? But of course, we're in the midst of conflict and is small time conflict with them in different places, right? Um, I don't know, especially since everybody's concerned that Joe will pull us into wars,
Yeah. Well, we
right?
know he's a fan.
And there's too many global fronts right now that have the potential for that to happen.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a few. I mean, there's China and Russia, really, but even Russia, I don't know what the threat is supposed to be. Like, all we hear is Russia bad, Russia bad. They're attacking us, not through military means, obviously, but they're doing this, whatever cyber thing to hack the elections. In 2016, of course, the most recent election, obviously the most safe and secure election ever. No evidence of any kind of voter fraud. I'm talking about 2016, right, when Trump
Right,
falsely
right,
won.
right.
Yeah.
Well, see,
So,
well, see,
so
I I think what might help to understand is that it's not so much that they're like taking specific action, right? We know that they're trying to hack into everything we've got. They always have been, right? Ever since computers, duh.
yeah,
But
yeah, of course, yeah. I mean, everyone is.
but
That's what I'm saying. What makes it
the
than that,
problem the
though?
problem with Russia is who they're getting in bed with, who their bed partners are. Like for instance, in Syria, they're supposed to be on our side, yet they side with Assad in Syria, right? The leader that we
Hmm.
don't want in power because he's a bad man. That's who they side with, thus creating conflict between us and Russia in Syria, right?
Right.
When you talk about Chinese hacking and everything, all this has been going on with them. How much of that is coordinated with Russia, right? There's concerns that there's
As
coordination with
far as I know,
Russia.
they're not friends, Russia and China.
Well, yeah, I wouldn't be friends on the face of it either, but but the the enemy, a friend of my
It's
enemy, what
possible.
is it? The enemy of my
Enemy of
enemy
my
is my
enemy.
friend.
That's a dumb
I
thing.
know, but
Dumb
people,
expression.
but it's an approach that is taken often in war. No matter what level of war it is.
Yeah.
So but there's also, then you've got the Middle East. Where does Russia stand in the Middle East? Whose side are they on? Who are they playing against each other? That's the problem with Russia, and this was the problem with Russia during the Cold War, is that anything that we're doing, you can expect Russia is on the other side doing the opposite, but at the same level. So that's why Russia is a concern and will always continue to be a concern as long as there's a leader in place that is, for want of a better term, a thug, a dictator of whatever caliber, is because they have the resources and the capability to play at the same level we do. So, yeah, you got to be concerned. They want to up their nuclear armaments, not have deals, treaties with us either, right? We're not in a, we didn't renew the treaty with them. I mean, you know, do you, they're the other superpower with the nukes. So, you know, yeah, everything that they do right now is suspect, and you've got to
That's the
be
thing is
concerned
like
about them.
everyone and their mother has nukes. Like any country that's worth their salt has nukes. I mean, Pakistan has nukes. I mean, there's I can't remember the exact number, but there's a lot of India has nukes.
Sure, but
I mean, any country that's
not
worth a damn
not a
has
mortal
nukes.
enemy, right? But
Well,
here,
no, but I'm well, no, but my point is though that the whole point of mutually assured destruction. There's really no need for
right,
nuke. Nukes
but
are kind of taken out of the equation. They cancel each other out. That's pretty much what's happening.
right. However, so take a country like North Korea, right? Who don't give a fat fuck because they know they don't
Who
have the
do give a
nuclear
fat
power
fuck?
to do it, to take anybody out and win a nuclear war, but they aren't afraid to fucking shoot some off, right? They'll shoot some fireworks off.
Right, that's all they're doing is
So
shooting fireworks
so
out.
if
Very
you but if you've got
complicated fireworks.
but if you've got Russia behind them saying do it, do it, and they're over
Hmm.
here telling this country do this, do this.
Well,
They have been a puppeteer pulling strings on the other side of the world for years,
the
making
Kim
countries do
family,
shit.
the Kim family, North Korea, they are not idiots. They're not. They know how to at least, at the very least, maintain power. You do not maintain power by firing off a nuke and getting your entire country turned into a
Sh-
smoldering fucking ruin.
Sure, sure, sure. They may
Like,
sure,
that's not how you stay in power. That's not how
but
that works.
but goading North Korea to continue to test our resolve. That's
Oh yeah,
what
they're
that's all they
testing for
need to do.
sure.
That's what I'm talking about with Russia is they will goad countries into doing things,
Mm, I
promising,
mean, yeah, yeah, no, I'm saying they won't. I'm not saying they won't.
and
I'm
they've
not
done
saying that
this
they
for
don't do that.
years,
Yeah, yeah, I'm not saying they don't
promising
do that.
allegiance and loyalty to them. But when it all turns out, if things don't flush out properly, guess what Russia
Right,
does? Oh, we need to be more diplomatic with America, and
right.
we
No, I
have
understand.
peace
Yeah,
talks, and
yeah,
we've done
yeah,
this throughout the years. Go through shitty times with Russia, then we go into peace talks, but shit was popping off in different places, and
yeah,
the Russians were behind a lot of it. You just
yeah, yeah.
know. Just like we were behind a lot of it. Coups to
Right.
overthrow regimes and shit like that. So
Oh my
that's
God, it's so fucking convoluted and complicated. It's
right.
ridiculous. Like
That's why,
the
but
history of like proxy wars and shit.
right.
It's
And
fucking
that's why
ridiculous.
Russia is such a threat. That's where their threat really comes in at. And the cyber angle is like the way to try and get to the bottom of what they're doing. And so I don't know. If they would really take off and use this to their best interest, and instead of like trying to figure out if they were hacking a fucking election, they were hacking an election. They do it all the time. Everybody does. What you want to know is what the fuck else are they doing, right?
Yeah.
Who else are they prompting or helping? Because that's where the real shit hits the fan. But anyway, so I'm really curious about where global policy is going to go moving forward with this administration. We've got to get through the first couple of weeks of executive orders flying around, but
Oh my God, it's
shit's got to start getting handled because everybody else out there is now antsy, and they're like, okay, now it's time to test this new administration, like you said.
hmm
You know, so but
they were much less likely to do it. You know, during Trump's administration. I mean, it was much less like saber rattling and much more our own allies pissed off at us because they're all part of the same group. You know, everyone in our government, everyone in UK's government, everyone in the EU, everyone.
sure,
They're all in the same club.
and
Like
we've
so, yeah, they're pissed off. They're like, well, we lost America in our club, and we don't have America in our club anymore. Oh shit!
right. Yeah, we've got to.
Like, so,
I mean, he's got to go about doing some damage control around the world with allies, right? Already,
not
one
even
way.
really though. I think as soon as Trump is out, they're like, okay, new president. We know Biden. He was vice president, before Trump, and he's been in the establishment for 47 years. We know Biden. It's all good. Like they can kind of
Well, that's
unclench their butt
hopefully that's
cheeks just
good.
a little bit. Yeah.
As long as it keeps trade flowing, that's all that matters to me, right?
Oh, the trade was never going to stop. It never stopped
Well,
under
I
Trump.
mean, it can be impacted though, right?
Mm,
Depending, when you start.
people
Oh,
don't want to make less money,
yes and
especially
well,
countries.
I mean,
Especially countries don't want to make less money.
they're willing to when they, when that's, when you start talking sanctions or when you start talking tariffs and this, that, and
No
the
one put
other
any
and things.
they didn't put
Everybody
sanctions.
was everybody was in the middle of trying to figure out how to play the game against Trump and still make
Right,
money and still come out on
right.
top, right? So
You can't do that.
now,
All you can do
right,
is have the newspapers, have the media be like Trump bad, then get everyone
Sure.
pissed off, and they'll protest on your behalf.
But there were decisions
Um,
that were made and things that were put into place during his presidency that may have to be unwound, right? So
oh well, yeah, they're gonna, yeah, they're gonna do
if
that.
he unwinds the right things, he betters those relationships back to somewhere closer to where they
Right.
were, hopefully.
But
Um,
well, that's what they expect him to do. So really, they're just kind of like, all right, we can unclench our butt cheeks a little bit.
um, but so no, but now here at home, I mean, of course we've got to focus on domestic right now. Although he has been signing off some shit about immigration and this and that, and I'm like, all right, I saw that
Mhm.
coming, but God knows how that's going to turn out. But
Right.
it's interesting, one of his big focuses is on the economy and getting people, getting that jump started back up. And of course, he's talking about more COVID relief packages, this that, and the other increase.
Right.
He's actually saw today that they're drafting some legislation to put together. You've heard of the child tax credit that people get for having a child,
Oh yeah,
right?
yeah,
Not just the exemption, but the child tax credit, which is, depending on how much money you make, you get a certain amount of money for having a child of a certain age, right? Depending on if they're under 6 and or
right.
between that and 17. Well, what they're talking about doing is instead of, not just having the tax credit, but also extending it to where you get tax credit throughout the year. So if you have a child up to 6 years old, you get $300 a month for each child and 250 for everyone from 6 to 17.
Right.
So you get paid to have kids, and they'll start doing it, and go. They're going on the premise that we're one of the few countries in the world that doesn't do that either, right? So
Yeah,
apparently,
that's
there's
probably
countries
true.
all over out there that are giving people money for having kids. I didn't know that.
Yeah, yeah.
What's going on in what's going on in the rest of the world? I don't know. But anyway, so
Bunch of socialists, we pay for their defense, and then they think they can spend their money on other shit, and they're right.
well, one of the things with the economy, Bernie Sanders ran. One of his big things was wanting to stick it to the elite, stick it to the billionaires, that kind of thing, right?
Right. Not the
Um,
millionaires anymore, since he's one of them now.
well, the billionaires. That's why I say
Yeah,
billionaires,
so yeah, yeah,
right?
no, I know. Yeah,
Um,
just making sure that people know it's not, millionaires aren't bad anymore.
right.
It's just the billionaires.
but but he wants to, he's like stick it to Wall Street, that kind of thing. Well, something interesting has been going on with GameStop. Now, I don't know. I don't know how much you've been following it. Like, I didn't realize that it had blown up just until the last couple of days when it really
Yeah,
actually started like gaining traction and people realizing that something had really happened with this. Um,
it's gotten so big, even the normies have taken notice.
right.
Because yeah, my dad showed me a little graph like earlier today. He just sent it to me. I was like, hey,
With the
she's like, do you
rise
know
of the
anything
stock.
about this? Yeah, from
Yeah.
like $4 a share to 369 at the time that I saw the graph. It's like
Yeah.
$369 a share. Fucking ridiculous.
So this was an interesting thing. Now, I didn't realize. So I guess there's a subreddit, Wall Street Beats, I think is what it's called.
Yeah,
But basically, it's talk about trading and this, that, and the other. The stock market, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So earlier this year, I guess a couple of people, a few people started talking about GameStop, this, that, and the other. Now, GameStop, of course, you've had the pandemic, right? The COVID-19 situation going on. Economic fallout from that, the way it hit brick and mortar stores, which GameStop's a big one. They do have a very strong online presence, but a lot of their brick and mortar, right? Not to mention
yeah.
that now consoles, you've got consoles, but most of the content on consoles is what? Downloaded content,
Digital. Yeah, it's
digital,
all
right?
digital.
Um,
And it
so,
makes sense why
so,
you switch digital.
I mean, GameStop, I mean, their projections had them, they're not even being at a point of turning a profit again until 2023 was their forecast, their model, that the company as a whole wouldn't be turning a profit for another couple of years. Still alive and kicking, but not turning
Right,
a profit. But
right.
there's been some shakeup in the leadership and this, that, and the other. Well, the talk got going on this Wall Street Beats on subreddit,
Mhm.
and but apparently the way it got turned around was basically they came up with a way to stick it to some of the traders in Wall Street. Are you familiar with short trades, John?
Uh, I mean, not in like any kind of intimate sense.
Okay.
Certainly not physically. But I'm familiar with the concept.
So, for anybody that doesn't know, short trade is pretty simple, and I think this is ludicrous that they, this really tells you that how the stock market is actually a game, like it's a real life game.
Yeah.
It's a casino game, is really
Oh,
what it
it can
is.
be. Yeah, it
When
can be
they
figured out and manipulated. Oh,
right,
yeah.
so so
And, there's a meta to it, I guess you could say.
right, so trading short is pretty simple. So John, you have a company and you have a bunch of stock, for that company that you want to sell. I
Right.
come to you and I say, hey, I want to borrow 500 shares of that stock and I'm going to sell them off. And I'll get your money back to you in this amount of time. So they have a time frame to do that, right?
Right.
Very short to very whatever. So they take those 500 borrowed shares, right? They buy them at a they take them and they borrow them and they take them over to this other guy. I'm going to take it and I'm sell them 500
Hmm.
shares. I'm going to sell them as this, but the stock is falling. So I sell it to him, but I'm expecting, because the stock has been dropping slowly or a little bit rapidly, whatever has been dropping. I'm expecting I just sold those 500 shares for $5 a pop, but by the time my due is back with you to give you back your money on the 500 shares, the stock is going to have continued to drop. And when I do pay you for the 500 I borrowed, I'm only going to pay you at 350 a share
Right.
because that's what it's worth, not what it was worth when I borrowed it from you, which is ludicrous to me. But and then I pocket the $1.50 I made off the other guy for each one of those shares.
Right.
Now, I think that is a fucked up thing to be able to do on the
The
stock market, right? It's almost as bad to me as
hedge funds.
the hedge funds. Oh,
Yeah.
well, we think the stock is, we're betting on the market to fail. Anything that's betting on the market to fail, I think is just fucking stupid, um, right? Because apparently it creates open doors to do something fucked up or funny, as it were, to
Hmm.
fuck with somebody. Because what they did on GameStop was this: the stock is dropping. There's shakeup in leadership, things going on, but they start promoting the stock in there, and people are getting stimulus checks. And guess what? They
Yeah.
have free money sitting around. Buy into GameStop. They were promoting
Yeah.
they were promoting high profile people that actually had GameStop stock in their portfolio. Look, these people invest in it. These people invest in it. And basically what was happening was, what you don't want to happen when you're doing a short sale is you don't want the stock to go up.
Right.
Because as soon as it starts to turn and it goes up, you have to scramble and sell. And if you, the longer it takes you to sell that shit, the more money you lose, right? Or the more profit you lose, I should say, till you get to a point where you're actually losing what you would have invested. And so that's what they've been doing. They've been driving the stock up by buying more because, of course, the more stock that's being bought, the higher it goes up. So
Right.
so short traders took it up the ass on this one. Took it up the ass. I mean, the stock would have to plummet, 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 plummet very fast. But see,
Yeah.
this is good for GameStop
Oh, of
because
course.
this buys them a better future, a short-term
Yeah.
future, right? This puts them in a much better position.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know that they hang on to the bulk of that market share, that market price that they got up to, or how much higher it's going to go because more people may jump on and keep buying it up.
Yeah.
But I do know this: I don't believe GameStop has the market saturation or
Right.
hold to
Yeah.
maintain that and
I
stay a
agree.
big time company. Now, I think they can maintain where they're at. They're probably still going to have to close up some brick and mortar stores over the next few years.
Right. But at least they got They got some kind of
Right.
something.
Right now, they've got an influx of
You know,
capital, and they need to put it to best use. Right.
right?
And
They've basically been given a second chance, but I don't even know how GameStop could come back with the at least with the model they have now. Like yeah, they have an online store, but it's really shitty. Maybe they put money into that and get it, more streamlined, better access, more shit on it. Because I mean, those brick and mortar stores, I mean, yes, some people will, buy games or, controllers or something from there, but most people are just going to get that shit off of Amazon or, go to a digital
well,
copy of its games. And then also, there's been a new, at least I don't, it's been in the past like 10 years, I would say. There's been an influx of like, not mom and pop shop, like small chains of used video game stores that have been creeping on GameStop as well because they offer more in trade value. So when you go and
sure,
trade your old game in, they give you more than GameStop would,
sure,
which was always a big deal. And then they also do all the old consoles. Like you can find everything from like
sure.
Nintendo, Super Nintendo, Sega Genesis, N64, the like everyone's favorite system ever, or PlayStation 1, PlayStation 2, PlayStation 3. Like you can find all those games, the consoles and games that GameStop won't sell anymore.
Well,
So I don't really think that there's a place left for GameStop.
well, I don't have a problem with GameStop eventually phasing out a- artifact gaming systems and games, right? Because
Mhm.
I mean, to carry anything other than like you don't want to do it in your brick and mortar stores. And that's
You
ultimately the
can't right
real
now.
question
Yeah.
for whether or not GameStop can live into the future is if they try to maintain a uh, a brick and mortar presence. I think the better thing for them to do. Now imagine this, because this is what I see the shopping mall of the future becoming, right?
Hmm.
Showrooms, right? Stores that are dressed with product, but you don't buy anything. And it's kiosk. You order things through kiosk. You don't have to have people there. You go through and you can't take any merchandise, but you
Hmm.
order, right? But most of it's going to be online. Very few people are going to go to those, but smaller footprint. But GameStop first gets in bed with Amazon and says, "We need you to be the mother base for us to," and they launch GameStop by Amazon, right? Don't sell out, but they platform on Amazon. But
Right.
but they also put fucking kiosks out. Like if like Redbox did, right? If you want to order
Yeah.
shit, like order shit from GameStop, you could have a kiosk, and that's what I
Hmm.
think. Marketplace kiosks are going to be a thing that are going to be coming before long,
It's
where you can be in
possible.
any store and there'll be a marketplace kiosk that you
Right.
can go up to and go and order stuff from
I see
Amazon
what
or
you're
whoever.
saying. I think a better way to do that would be to also have a bunch, as well as the kiosk, um, like a bunch of gaming stations, like different consoles with a TV, and you can switch the games out, like demo the game before you commit to buying it. That might work, but again, those shops that I was telling you about, the like
Right.
small chains, they most of them do that already.
Well, yeah,
They'll have one
but
or
they're
two of
gonna
those stations set up that you can
but those
go and
those are
play a game for a few minutes or
those are
whatever.
going to go the way of the dodo as well, um,
Oh, those
because
are
of
too, but I'm saying there's
because of things like digitized gaming and stuff.
right.
Yeah,
No, no,
I
no, they
mean,
will. Except for in a few.
eBay will eventually put those people out of business for the old school gaming
Yeah,
consoles.
well, yeah, because you can just buy them from
Right.
that. I think they'll last longer than GameStop though, because they were already creeping on GameStop before like
Sure.
everyone went digital.
But they're only creeping on their brick and mortar. And I will say this:
Yeah.
GameStop was not at a point of saying we can't survive. They were like, we can make it through this and reach a point in 2023 where we're turning a profit. meaning they were not failing. They weren't expecting to fail. Now, of course, we look
Well,
on the
yeah, of
outside and
course.
say maybe, but when it's all said and done, they have the console market, right? They actually have the physical merchandise market, so they can maintain an online presence. I think that they would strengthen their brand if they went under the umbrella of Amazon, like other major retailers have done. Sears is selling appliances through
Right.
Amazon, which
Yeah,
was a
yeah, yeah.
smart move, right?
Sure.
If your
Yeah.
brick and mortars are going down, get a number, go where the traffic is at. So GameStop could do that. And I mean, it's a recognized name. You capitalize on that recognized game, and you create a seller website on Amazon. Transfer your website into it for the most part. They've got a strong online presence. You can get anything you want shipped and stuff like that. A lot of people choose to go to GameStop before they go to Amazon, right?
Yeah, no,
Just
I
from
mean,
loyalty.
yeah, yeah, no, I don't get loyalty to GameStop though.
I would
I mean, they're predatory.
if I were still buying GameStop. They
They're predatory.
why?
Why? Because they offer you like extremely small amounts on used games when you bring them in. You give them.
Right.
Uh, they offer an extremely small amount because at least at the time that I'm talking about, where else are you going to go to get rid of your old games,
Well, there
right?
were other
And
places
then,
to go.
not really, not as many, right? There
Not
might be
as
a
many,
few,
but you
but
know,
but there's a GameStop everywhere, right? So you're like, oh, I
yeah.
guess I'll go to GameStop. Their GameStop credit card, extremely predatory.
Why?
Um,
Every store has a credit card.
not
Every
as much,
store.
but
At
yeah, every
American Eagle, we used
most
to push
stores
it.
are that's a predatory action there. You're saying,
Yeah, and 90%
I'm not
of
saying they're like I'm not
non-mom
saying
90% of retailers have a credit card that they
yeah, I'm
try
not
and get
saying
you to
they're
take.
unique in that. I'm just saying that they're predatory. That's all. I'm not saying they're
Yeah.
unique
I
in
don't
that
see that as
aspect.
predatory,
I
and I don't
think
see the low cost that they gave for games as predatory either. That was just them saying this is what the value is to us, and if you
right.
want to trade, you made the choice when
Yeah,
you traded
of
those
course.
games in, right? So
Right. But I mean
that's that.
that's what allowed someone else to come in, a small chain and say, well, we're gonna offer more than like significantly more than they do.
Well, I will agree it's
And you're like, okay,
predatory.
cool,
It's only predatory from the sense of
when they're a
captive
monopoly.
audience. It's
When they're
captive,
a right. Yeah,
but I
exactly.
mean,
So
but
that's why they started failing those because they weren't getting as many of those trade-ins.
yeah,
Because they're going elsewhere. We're like, oh shit, I can get more over here rather than going to GameStop. And I got old games. I can, trade in a shitload of like, I don't know, Xbox games and I'll go pick myself it up in N64 while I'm at it. Like, just direct trade. I think Ron Hilton's right though in the chat when he said GameStop is a current day version of Blockbuster Video. Do you remember when? Do you know the moment that I knew that Blockbuster was going to fail was when they got rid of their late fees. As soon as they got rid of the late fees, I was like, dude, they're on their way out because that's where
oh
they made
yeah,
their money. That's really where they made their money.
oh yeah,
Was
yeah,
on your irresponsible ass not coming in at the right time. Like that's what they made their money on.
oh,
As soon as they got rid of that, I was like, yep, they're on their way out. That's it.
yeah. No, I figured they were. I knew they were on their way out whenever they had their first. Who was the first block? Who was it that was doing DVDs in the first one to do? Was it? It wasn't Redbox. It was. What was it? Redbox?
Netflix,
Whoever it was that
Netflix.
was it Netflix that was doing the first.
Yeah, as far as I know, yeah.
Um, so when they were just doing the kiosk, like you couldn't get them online or anything. It was like renting movies right through their
Oh,
kiosk.
oh well, that was Redbox as far as I don't think
Whoever it
Netflix
was that
had a
was first that
kiosk.
had the first kiosks
I think that was
they were
Redbox.
there was rentals and you take them back. It might I
I
think it
could be
was
wrong.
Redbox, but
I
anyway.
could be wrong, but yeah.
But they came in before the end of Blockbuster, but I knew it was over for Blockbuster when Blockbuster was like a few months behind the party in getting a kiosk up,
Yeah,
right? And I'm like, oh, they didn't see that coming.
right.
They're fucked,
Yeah, they got
right?
caught with their pants
It's
down on
over
that.
with. Yeah, it's over with. And that
Yeah.
kiosk, the one block, I saw one Blockbuster kiosk go up
I've
in a
never seen
store.
one.
I saw one, and it was gone in like 60, 90 days.
They probably had a contract to keep it there for whatever, yeah, whatever amount of time.
They couldn't compete with the red box that was 3 foot away,
Right.
right? But yeah, so the thing about GameStop is like they obviously have enough market share to stay competitive, to stay in the business. Now,
Right. They're
with
not.
the
Yeah, they're not broke.
now how long they can maintain brick and mortar when you're talking about an industry that is moving completely digital, except for the hardware. The hardware is the key there. How long can they hold on to a hardware market and keep existing brick and mortar alive?
I don't see it.
You know, um, there's a lot to
Like
be
you got
said
smaller
though.
chains. I
Here's
mean,
what about
I don't
this though?
know.
What about the big draw of people who are like, is this common with gamers? I want the game when it comes. I want that new console
Oh
when it
yeah,
comes out
yeah, yeah,
at
yeah.
midnight.
Right. Yeah,
I
it
don't
has
want to
to.
wait 2 days for
I
2 hours
don't want to
shipping,
wait, or in my case, I don't want to wait 3 years for the price to be cut in half.
right?
Like,
Because if I'm not mistaken, you're primarily seeing brick and mortar stores get the lion's share of
right.
consoles when they come out still to this day, right?
Yeah, but how
You
much
would
longer do you think
yeah,
that's gonna last?
well, see, because the problem is you can't give a bunch of them to Amazon because then everybody will cry foul that Amazon is, then they'll start chanting monopoly, 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 right? Uh,
Well, no, I mean you still got. I mean, Walmart's still gonna order a bunch of them. Best Buy,
well, that's what I'm
Target,
saying.
maybe.
As
All
brick and
those
mortar
stores are
is
still
dying
gonna get
off,
theirs.
as brick and mortar is
Yeah,
dying
but
off,
those are much more, uh, I guess, steadfast than GameStop. GameStop is very niche, right? They have it's one thing, whereas Walmart and Target and Best Buy even are multiple things. They don't rely on the game section for their profit.
what if I told you that I'm getting the feeling that the direction Walmart is headed is creating a digitized store where you will go in and you
Mhm.
will walk around and shop, but you'll plug it all in. You'll order it all right there from the store, seeing the physical products, this, that, and the
Right.
other, but you just won't take them away. Some small stuff there may
I
be
was gonna
for,
say, yeah,
but
because you can't
for
take
the
away that
bulk of
instant
it,
gratification that people need.
right? But for the
Yeah,
bulk of it, but they're going to have so many distribution centers set up like Amazon does that they'll
or
be
just
able
go
to
through
you'll
Amazon,
have your
most
stuff
likely.
delivered at home
Yeah,
within 2 hours after having been in there shopping.
well, that would be fucking cool.
Because while you're shopping, somebody's in the back putting your order together and getting
Right.
it ready to go out to your house. So it may even be there before you get there.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
But it's not going to surprise me if they start going to a model like that. I've just little things that I've heard about them potentially instituting in stores leads
Right.
me to believe that they're going to a more digital store
Makes sense.
that is
Yeah.
more about no employee customer interaction or very minimal
Oh
at the
my God,
best. Um,
that's
yeah.
horrible.
I mean, if you
Makes
go
sense,
into a
but
Walmart
yeah.
and you'll see that like some Walmarts, like 50+% of their checkout aisles are now self checkout.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of ridiculous.
Yeah, yeah, it saves them money. They got to cut that labor, bro. Got to cut that labor.
Oh, I know. Yeah, labor is going to kill them, especially in Florida now. We got the incremental $15 an hour thing happening. Minimum wage.
Oh yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. It's gonna be interesting to see how that pans out. That's gonna be the nail in the coffin for any businesses, any
yeah.
small businesses that did
Oh
manage to
fuck yeah, you're
eke through
fucked. Yeah,
$15 minimum wage, and that's coming from that's about to come from the federal level too. Watch.
right. But it doesn't
Um,
matter in Florida because we're already
well,
getting up there.
we're going to
So
go
we've
there,
already
but what are
passed
we?
it.
25, 2025 is when they or
I think so.
26.
It's a few years away yet,
Right. It's
but
a slow build.
Right.
Um,
Which is, of course, if you're going to do something stupid like that, it's better to do it, slower than do a stupid thing really fast. you know?
yeah, again, but this always leads me down in this rabbit hole of like, rebounding questions. It's like, well, yeah, but you can't rely on companies at this point to meet the cost of living through wage for their employees. So the you got to have somebody step in and say no, you have to, and it's like what where who's right, who's what do you
Yes, what we're doing is we're using government to fix a problem that government created.
right,
As
right.
fucking usual. That's what we're doing. Yeah.
And I want to talk about this sometime soon on the show. I think this will maybe I'll bring it up Friday and we'll talk a little bit about it or whatever. I heard a commercial and they said something in the commercial and it really got me, and I was like, okay, we need to really think about what we're saying and how we're looking at things. But it was talking
Okay.
about school, and it was talking about education, and said is a basic human right.
Oh my god, that's
Hold
the
on, hold
worst.
on, hold on now see, it is a basic human right for you to seek knowledge,
Of
right?
course.
To
Yeah,
seek
fine.
knowledge is yes, you have the right to seek
Yes.
knowledge because that's
Of
a
course you
basic
do.
basic fundamental part
Yeah,
of
yeah,
your
yeah. You can
being
seek whatever
human,
you want,
right?
yeah. Right.
Okay. But the problem is what happens when you say that, the people hear, then that means somebody's got to provide it for us.
Right. But
Right?
no, you're seeking it. It's not coming to you. like,
We need to talk
yeah.
because I think that's got a lot of people fucked up these days.
That's a
This
fantastic
idea
that's a
about race.
fantastic idea for us to talk about it, yeah.
Yeah.
Like that.
But anyway, so let's. I know we got started a handful of minutes late, but we're getting close to the end times, and
Wow.
I gotta.
I'm gonna give
Hey,
them
I
the
gotta
extra
go.
4 minutes.
I gotta go do some penny plays on GameStop. GameStop.
right.
Some penny plays. Whenever I think about it, though, I mean, I used to know some guys that would do the penny trade on the stock
Yeah.
market and do short trades and stuff like that, playing that game. And
Yeah.
I get it. It's a feast or famine kind of thing, but I mean, some days, they'd be sitting around talking to me like, "Yeah, I made 2 grand today. I made 2 grand today, right?"
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then the
Yeah.
next day, "Oh, I lost 500 today."
Yeah. That's what I had a friend of mine that I went to military school with, but like we also lived in the same neighborhood outside of school, which was awesome. Um, he actually we lived on a man-made. There was a man-made lake, which is awesome. It was fucking fantastic. Great. My favorite house I've ever lived in. And this was in Columbia, South Carolina. And so I'd take my little canoe and go over across the lake to his house. But anyway, they had a massive house though, like way bigger than mine. It was a badass house. Technically, it was 3 stories because like it had a little bit underneath. And like they had like a legit built-in wine cellar on the bottom floor, and that's also where the garage was. And then like the first floor, the second floor. Um, but his grandfather, he lived with his grandfather. I don't remember exactly what happened to his parents. I know they weren't dead, but it was a whole fucked up family situation. But he was living with his grandfather. His grandfather was an old school Brooklyn Italian dude, and he would just sit at the kitchen table all day, drinking coffee, smoking cigarettes with his little laptop and the TV set to whatever the stock channels were, and he would just sit there and just play all day, just making a couple $100 here, losing $50 here, like just all day doing. When you talk about, yeah, I made $3,500 today, I made whatever it was, you just sit there and make money. That's all he did for a
It's
living.
it's tempting to do,
Yeah, he was good at it apparently
especially
because they had a badass house.
well. See, now we're in a day and age now where there's so many digital options for doing trading that the the uh, the barrier to entry has greatly diminished, right? So you don't need a lot of money to get. You can get going with
yeah,
five, $10, play around with that a little, turn it into 50, and keep going. Just start playing the game. But
He was probably playing with his Social Security money, to be honest.
sure,
I
sure, why
mean, he
not, right?
wasn't like he wasn't broke before going into doing that. Like that was just his fun time while retired, sitting
Well,
there making money. Like
it's
he was
like
already pretty well off beforehand.
it does make you kind of wonder. It's like, okay, if they are gonna throw around more stimulus money, maybe that's a thought, right?
Yeah.
What's the next target for overinflation of the stock price? Because that's the
Oh,
beauty of it, man. You just be one of those people that's just riding. It's like, okay, they're promoting this, so this is gonna pop off. So all right, here's $20. Whoa, hey, thanks for that $300 back.
right.
Thanks, thanks.
Yeah.
Fuck
Insane.
the stock market. It's kind of crazy. It,
Yeah.
it's
If I was any good at math, I'd get involved, but I suck dicks when it comes to math. It's terrible.
Yeah, they've got computers that do all that for you now.
Yeah, I know, but it's still
Yeah, I mean
not
it's all
interested
there.
in
You just look
math.
for
Makes my brain hurt.
they've got
Uh,
them. They've got them now to where it's like they just tell you it says if it's green, invest. If it's red, sell. Yeah,
well, yeah, I get the concept.
right. But no, they
Buy
make it
low,
that
yeah,
easy.
buy
It's
low,
like
sell high.
if it's doing this, just press this button. If it's doing this, press this button, and it's like okay, okay,
Okay, thank you.
right. It's like spin the wheel, spin the
yeah.
wheel. All right. All right, let's get the hell out of here. Oh, I will say this. Helton pointed out he thinks it was probably Redbox was the first kiosk. Put a hurt on Netflix, but here was the thing. I will say about this. Talking about when you talk about Redbox, Netflix, Blockbuster, out of all three of them, Netflix made the smart, hard pivot. They
Yeah.
made a pivot that has set them on a path to glory like no other.
Yeah.
They are, but Redbox is going to go bye bye. Did you know you can stream?
Eventually it
You
will.
you know you can stream movies through Redbox. You can
I
do it
did not
online.
know.
Yeah, see, there you go. That's why
Okay, yeah, fuck
Redbox
that
is going to
then.
go away. For
Yeah,
3 to 5 years now, you've been able to go and just get your movies and watch them
I
on
had no
demand
idea.
on
I had
Redbox.
no idea.
So they're gonna go bye bye.
See, Redbox came out. I think Ron's more right that Redbox even put a hurt on Netflix for a little while
Right.
until Netflix switched entirely to streaming and stopped sending out
They
DVDs, and it
got
was like,
smart.
oh, well, fuck that. But then you still have, people who didn't want to pay that money, people who couldn't pay that money. You know what I mean? But you can go to Redbox and get a movie for X amount of money, especially if you're poor and you don't have internet. Which
Sure,
I
but
was there, as recently as like 6, 7 years ago, not having internet at all. Like,
yeah,
and you
yeah,
could go to a Redbox, get the
sure.
movie, and then now you have a movie. So yeah, you have a movie, or you
But you
get
have it.
two or three if you have.
But the
But
thing about Redbox is
that's
the
it.
delay, the delay in timing, right? So especially now with the new change that's gone on, and this will be this is the other big killer for Redbox, is the simple fact that the pandemic created an atmosphere. How many streaming services like Disney is starting to release new movies not in theaters but
Right.
on streaming. HBO
Yeah.
is releasing new
Yeah.
features not in theaters.
Right. Which makes sense. It's cheaper to
Amazon
do
is
that.
doing the
Yeah.
same.
Yeah.
So and that fucks with Redbox because Redbox when they would get a movie, they would get it 2 weeks after it dropped on streaming networks, pay per
Right.
views, whatever. Like you were seeing it when it was starting to show up in the cable networks like HBO, Showtime. And then they
right.
started getting a little sooner and a little sooner, but they're still nowhere near the speed at which you can get it now
Well, there's
from
obvious
so
reasons for
many
that. There's
other.
obvious
Right,
logistical reasons for that. Yeah.
right. So they're fucked, right? I mean, they were
Mhm.
offering games in their kiosks as
Yes.
well.
Which, by the
How
way, back
relevant
in the
is that
day,
now?
well, I don't know where they are. now, but GameFly back in the day was the
You know,
shit.
GameFly is still around,
I'm sure they are, but are they like
but
any
they're
kind of,
dying
are they
too.
relevant? Yeah, I'm
Now
sure
that
they
games
are.
are going digital, they're dying. They're going to be done.
Yeah, and
They're
not only that, I think the more people are making the switch to PC gaming as opposed to console gaming, which GameFly is kind of hard to give someone, the files for the game and then take it away. I guess Steam can technically do that. You can get a refund if you take it completely off your account, but I don't know.
well. Do you think
It
that'll
just
mean?
doesn't make
Do you see that as? Do you see that the death of the I won't say the death of the console, but the convergence of the console and the PC. Seeing as
I
how
think
your PC can just hook up to your TV now, and and
right, but at the
with
same
grab a
time, it's
keyboard.
what would have to happen for for everyone to switch to PC or consoles beyond PC or whatever. The high end like equipment, the high end hardware would have to be uh, extremely cheap.
I
Because I mean, you can buy an Xbox, what is it, the Xbox One X or XS or whatever the fucking new one is, right? Is what, like $300-400, maybe five at the most. Whereas a high end gaming rig for a PC is probably about $1,200-1,400. So there's a big difference in price for playing new games.
Sure,
But you
but
know that when
what
you
are we
buy the
aware?
game for a console, you know it works on that console.
Right.
Whereas you have to kind of know your specs and on the PC, and you have to know what it can and can't play. Is your graphics card going to be good
Yeah,
enough for the game?
but that's the same thing. Consoles though, consoles are built able to handle
Right,
graphics better than what they initially come out with, right? They have heavy duty hardware in there, but
right,
here's what that tells you. Bear this in mind. The cost that you're paying for a PC to get the same caliber of equipment that's inside a console doesn't have to cost you as much as it does. It is because that again is captive audience market,
right.
and
That's
the
what I'm saying.
newest every year there's one or two
Is
or three
every six fucking
new
months, yeah.
graphics cards out and things like this to keep get the newest the best. Oh, there's one more pixel
Right.
shader, whatever the fuck, right?
Right.
It doesn't have to be that expensive, right? We're finding right now that people
Well,
are
that's what
on
I'm trying to
10-year-old
say.
systems and able to run present day shit.
That's
So
but that yeah, yeah, that's
there's going
that's
to be
my
a
point
shift,
though.
and but my point is that Xbox and Sony, Microsoft and Sony, I say within the next 10 to 15 years, they're going to make a switch, and they're going to put out a console PC. They're going to put out
Um,
one that's going to be all in one, because you can do everything that you can with a
yeah,
console on a PC with controllers and everything, and the hardware
I can see
levels are
that.
just as good, and the graphics outputs, et cetera, et cetera. People are
I
going to
can
get
see
tired of having
that.
to pay for the next new device, and make it a modular system that's easy to upgrade, you know,
Yeah,
and you
yeah,
can
I can see that maybe.
and then you can
Yeah,
come out with a new console. You can come out with the next gen console by slapping a new module into your present system setup, right?
right.
Because it's forward. Things will be forward compatible. 90% of things are going to be forward compatible. 99% probably in the next 2 decades. Everything.
I could see it. Yeah, I could see that happening.
So it's I don't know. But I will say this. I think GameStop is going to end if they don't do a Netflix type of pivot. And it would be
Yeah,
interesting to see what if they created the next game streaming network.
that would be kind of,
So
like
you
I said,
didn't
that'd be kind
pay
of
for
hard to do.
games,
Yeah, yeah, you pay for the subscription and you get
right? Like the EA has a Game Pass you can pay $5 for on Steam, and you have access to their library of games.
right.
And you can pay some upgrade. You can pay a little bit extra for like early access games or new releases and stuff. before they go
Who
into
the
the
hell
general
wants to
queue.
do that?
But
Oh my
there's only
god.
EA games. Somebody needs to be the Netflix of games where you rent and you can just play games.
Yeah.
But here's the key. They've got to be able to house the game so you play it remotely. You don't need the specs on your system to be at the level to
Yeah.
play the game. There's where it comes in.
Yeah, that's where it becomes tricky.
Right. But
Yeah.
decentralization, blockchain technology, make it work.
Yeah, I guess
I say
so.
I would think the applications are possible.
It's possible. You just have to think of who is over there working for them and coming up with that idea and their ability for like if they have the infrastructure as a company to do something like that.
Well, my
But to
suggestion's
build
out
that from
there.
scratch, which of
Let's
course,
If we make my suggestion go viral, maybe they'll hear it. But
yeah. So
they've
share this episode, guys. Especially if you know anyone who works at or GameStop. Um,
Yeah, they've got to pivot though. That's what they've got to do. Mark that down.
yeah,
If they don't make a significant pivot from where they're at right now, I don't think they'll last 5 years. They will succumb to the Amazon situation
right.
because this is probably the last generation of consoles that's going to be able to support GameStop. I think,
Yeah.
depending on the bounce back from the economy.
Well, it'll be a few more years before another system comes out. I mean, they just came out last
Yeah,
year,
yeah, yeah, and they've
so
got to ride that wave. They
it's
got to
gonna
ride that
be
wave without very
it's
many
gonna be 4 or
games,
5 years, maybe
right?
more for the next one. I don't know. I don't know.
You'll know GameStop's done when they come out with a console that does not take discs.
Yeah, yeah,
The no earphone jack.
right. Yeah, when
Right.
they oh my god, dude, my new phone does not have
Get a Bluetooth. Catch up.
fuck off. I like
Get
my
down with your
wired headset.
wearables, John.
I like my $7 Amazon
get
Basic
in tune
headphones.
with
They're
the wearables.
fantastic.
Get in tune with the wearables.
God,
All right,
I
let's
want to
get the
pay
hell
fucking
out of here, John.
$200 for an AirPod or whatever the fuck the kids are using these days. God damn it.
John, get me out of here. Tell these people where they can find me.
All right. Yes, you can find us in the description below. We have links to a bunch of stuff down here. We've got our Twitter, which is at the GenGapP. Got our Discord server. Find us. We're there sometimes.
Hi.
If you at me, I might see it in like a day or two. Robert won't see it at all though.
I will. If it's a
He'll
private,
see it, he just won't
I
respond.
usually see the private messages when they happen,
Yeah.
but I don't see your post till a day later for some fucking reason. I don't see posts for Twitter till
Weird.
the day after they've happened, and Facebook. It's all crazy shit.
That's insane. So anyway, yeah. So we've also got our subscribe stuff. If you like us, if you want to support us, if you want to help us do this more and more often, you know, consider chucking us a buck or two over there. And you also get your own perks along with that. So we're not just asking for money for nothing, but we are asking for chicks for free. So make sure you provide that. Then we've got Freedom Scoop, freedomscoop.com. You can find all of our stuff and other lesser and unimportant creators such as Jay Edgar, who's been in the chat tonight. Stephen Ignoramus is over there as well. We've got RVD Conservative and Wyatt from the Breakdown Birkenhoff, and of course the Freckles and Brit Show. So make sure you go and check all of them out when you're not watching us, of course. And also, you can buy our merch. We have merch over there. We have T-shirts. We got mugs. You can buy them. They're cool. They've got this logo that you see behind me on them, which is nice. And as an added bonus, if you put in the code GenGap at checkout, you'll get 15% off of your purchase, which is nice and cool, nice and cozy. So make sure you do that because we will like that. It'll
Sweet.
be fun and cool.
Real quick, Hilton says yes, but that was before now. Netflix is going the path of left wing programming, and they are losing customers. I disagree that's the primary reason why they're losing customers. I'll mention in a moment. He says
It's because their shit isn't good
Obama is
anymore.
on their board. They have red boxes at all the Dollar General stores for now. 7-Elevens too. 7-Elevens
Yeah,
and
7-Elevens,
Walmarts.
Walgreens as well. I've seen them outside of
Netflix
Walgreens.
keeps raising their monthly subscription and adding more and more of their own left-leaning shows. Not many good movies anymore. So, just want to say, but that's the thing. That's they're all of them are doing it. Amazon is on the same
Yeah,
train. Netflix is on the same train. Disney's on the same train when you talk about the left-wing programming.
Disney's
Just
definitely been
FYI,
on that train though.
what is happening to subscribers is the influx of options. There
Yeah.
are so many streaming options right now that
Oh
it
yeah.
is unbelievable, and especially when you consider the amount of streaming options that you can watch content with ads, just you know but
Uh,
it's not all majorly new content or anything. But so you've got there got a lot of people who are like, oh, I got to drop my subscription services, but there are options to watch something, right? Even if I have to watch some ads while I'm doing it. So bear in
the
mind
only time.
that flux in
Oh
the
no, go
market.
ahead.
But go ahead.
No, I was just gonna tell an anecdote. The only time that I've accepted ads was on. I actually put you onto it. Pluto TV. It's one of those like free, uh,
Right,
like pseudo cable
right,
channel apps on your phone that you can
right.
get, or I'm sure you can find it. Oh yeah, yeah, I know you can find it on their website as well. But they got a bunch of stuff. They got channels that play different things throughout the day, but then there's also an on-demand section, and that's as far as I know, at least that's the only place that is streaming Father Ted for free. So I got to watch that, which is really cool. I haven't seen that show in a long ass time.
Well, everybody's going to be raising their prices when it comes to the major streaming networks, mainly because Disney, right? Disney's pulling all of their shit from your networks right now.
Yeah.
When the contracts are up, they're pulling that stuff back, and they're going to put it on their own network. So the amount of content that streaming networks have is diminishing. Plus, they're having to pay. Like CBS is doing their own streaming network. NBC is going to be doing their own
Yeah, they're
streaming
all doing their
network.
own. Yeah.
Well, Hulu wants to hang on to giving you. Netflix wants to hang on to giving you that stuff. So they got to get in bed and make contracts and make payments to these companies. So it's going to be a lot of fluctuation in pricing with these streaming networks now. And the next thing to watch for is the company that comes out and bundles multiple streaming networks into one package deal, and that's your new fucking cable.
Well, who else does? Someone does do that, don't they?
I
Where
don't.
you can get
Well,
like,
eh,
I think HBO does that. You can get that. Like, oh no, Hulu. Hulu does that, right? You
well,
get like
Hulu. Well, yeah,
Hulu,
but you pay an addition.
Stars.
Well, you have to pay an
You
additional
pay
fee
more.
to add
Yeah,
them on,
more.
right?
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
but those networks are also
Still
starting
hell
to
cheaper
launch
than satellite or cable.
HBO now. HBO, right? Of course, now they've got HBO Max. They're starting to do their own, and those alliances are going to break off
Which I
eventually,
do enjoy HBO Max. Actually, I watch it more than Netflix or anything else, really.
right? So
HBO Max.
it'll be interesting to see the way we get our content now is going to change. But I will say this about Hulu and their ads program before we get out of here, because you mentioned it. One thing I found with
Mhm.
Hulu, on the ad level subscription that I have, I only see ads in current content. So if I decide to go watch
Okay, yeah, yeah.
something that's streamed, that's ended a couple of years ago, had 5 seasons, I can binge watch that whole thing and never see an ad
Right.
because it's not relevant current
Right, they're not
content
right. They're not expecting people to watch it at the
as
higher
much,
levels
right?
like they would.
So
Yeah,
they don't dedicate ad space to it, which is
that's
awesome.
kind of that's kind of cool. Yeah, from their part, I guess. Because I mean, they certainly could make ad
Sure.
revenue off of it. Of course, they could.
Yeah.
Right. I
No,
mean,
they
of
definitely
course.
could because they could be doing it,
Cool.
and there's most of the movies don't have ad breaks in the movies. That's the other thing. I
Oh, that's
usually
good.
only
Yeah.
see ads if I'm watching stuff that's TV oriented.
Oh, they wouldn't do it like at the beginning of the movie or at the end.
You'll see
Uh,
a couple of ads at before the movie starts,
Right.
maybe, but you don't see any. They don't take commercial breaks during the movie,
Probably a good
unless
idea.
you're
That'll probably
watching.
piss people
Unless you're
off.
watching a movie that was like set up with commercial breaks because it was aired on TV or whatever. But
Right.
maybe sometimes then. But it's got to be current. All right. But anyway, so we're gonna get the hell out of here. We appreciate all the folks tonight chit chatting, even though we just kind of just talk shit all night. Uh,
Yeah.
but we are going to be back again on Friday. The expectation is at 8:30 p.m. For our regular weekly episode, and then we're going to try and be back on Monday night for another episode of Filling the Gap to bring you a little joviality at the beginning of your week before you really succumb
So
to the Mondays,
guys,
so you don't
so guys,
succumb.
make sure that you're in our Discord server. And if you come across funny videos that you would like to see on the show, funny video submissions on the Discord server is a place to put them. So please do, because it's not so easy to find, funny videos that don't have copyrighted music in them and all this other kind of nonsense that you have to watch out for. Like sponsored reads and stuff in the middle of
Right.
a compilation video, shit like that. It gets fucking wild trying to find something show worthy.
Get out of
So
my
yeah,
goddamn spiel, John.
sorry. I'm just trying to, get people to help us out
I
a
know.
little bit.
I'm fucking with you. But
Show isn't
yeah,
just about
yeah.
us, guys.
Yeah, but submit some funny shit. Try and keep it. Just try and keep it lighthearted. Funny shit. Video
Yeah, funny
submissions
shit.
on our Discord. Do it.
Hopefully not political, but I mean, if it's funny enough, why not?
But that'll be at 9:30 on Monday night, and then of course we'll be back again next Wednesday at 9:30 again for another rousing episode of Shooting the Shit. All of those times are the Eastern Time Zone, the one and only true time zone, versus all the others who are the posers they know they are. But outside of that, appreciate all of you folks showing up tonight. And John, thanks for stopping by. We're going to get the hell out of here. And until a later time, peace out, everybody.
Yep. See you guys.
The war will begin.